Hi all. Today I want to show you a new plugin that I've discovered. It's not a new plugin to everybody out there, but to me it is. And it's something that I found which is really, really good at creating these rhythmically interesting but very dark kind of loops. The sort of loop that, when played over time, can either get so repetitive that it becomes kind of almost like a monotonous in your head type tone. I don't know how to better explain that, but it's something that's used a lot in horror, particularly. Um, Also, the sort of loop that you can kind of manipulate over time to evolve. Again, typical of horror, but many other kind of genres as well. The plugin itself is called Form, and it's a native instruments plugin that's accessed through Reactor. Now, I don't have either Reactor nor Form, at least not the paid versions. So before I put anybody off, just to stress, I am using the demo versions of both of these. I won't open it yet, but both Reactor and Form give you half an hour demo time before cutting out. And for what we're doing, that is more than enough time. So bear with me. This is a completely accessible to anyone, completely free thing to follow along with. But yeah, the plugin is Form. I'm going to split this video into 3 sections as well. So we're going to take a quick look at Form first of all. I'm going to play you something in a moment that I've already made with Form to give you an idea straight away of what we're kind of aiming for. We're then going to look at the sound design process. So I'll take you through how I use Form, specifically what I do to get these sounds. And then what I'm also going to do at the end is I'm going to cover some kind of post-production stuff as well. So how to then take a loop that we create inside of Form, how to take that and how to expand it into a piece of music that is ready to be dropped into a game or a film, that kind of thing. There are timestamps down below as well. So if you are only interested in one part of this video or you want to skip straight to the sounds and just get into it, by all means use the timestamps. That's what they're there for. And also I want to say as well, guys, that this is not going to be a technically advanced video. This is more about just having fun and experimenting. And I think Form is a really good way of having some fun with audio. So hopefully you guys agree and you find it fun as well. Whether you do or you don't, it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to keep having fun with it. But I seriously recommend that if you haven't tried this out, you do have a look at this because it is, honestly, it's a lot of fun. So we'll start off then just by showing you what I've done already. Have a listen to this piece of audio, but just bear in mind, it's not a finished piece. I'm not a video editor either. So it's not the best thing in the world. Just to give you an idea. Okay, so that was the piece of audio that I made previously with Form already. We're going to make a new piece today just for demonstration. I'm going to start off by just showing you exactly how I set all this up. So we have here in Logic 2 tracks. One is a software instrument track and the other is just a straightforward audio channel. On the software instrument track, you guessed it, we're going to go over here to Reactor, stereo mode, and you can see already the half an hour kicking off straight away, but that's fine. A bit of pressure never hurt anyone. And then we've also got Form as well in the instrument section there. So they're the only things I actually use, so I haven't got to select any other instruments or whatever. This is Form then, in its basic form. First thing I'm going to do is just completely reset the sound, okay? It comes with this default patch. If you come down here to the bottom left, we've got reset sound, click it again to confirm, and there we go. Everything inside Form has been reset. The only thing we need to do now is find a sample and drop it in here. I do have a sample. Bear with me. I did have one. I'm going to find that again now. Okay, nothing too fancy. A quick note about the sample and why I picked that. Just going to drag it. You drag and drop, you see, with Form. So just drag it into the sample window here and then click Load Sample. The reason why I picked this is because I find that for what I'm going for these slightly offbeat but still rhythmical, dark tones, textures, whatever you want to call them, I tend to find that having a rhythmic sample itself helps. You can do a lot of things with Form with regards to kind of drones, that kind of thing. But in my opinion, it's kind of I don't want to put that down, but I find drones to be quite easy. You can wash anything in Reverb and get a drone from it. You know, there's endless videos on YouTube on how to do that as well. And there's nothing wrong with that, but this is going to be not that. This is something different to that. So I'm looking for rhythmic samples, something that I can make sound warped. So on the main page, we drop the sample in. There's two things that I focus on first of all. So this first is down here in this little module here, the speed module, okay? I'm going for the BPM because what I want here is to have the sample, whatever we do with this, I want it to be synced with my project. I'm going to bring this down to half a bar. At the moment, if I trigger the sample, it's now stretched to half a bar. It's playing much faster through, but it just plays through once. What we want here is we want to loop this sound now. So we click this button here to loop, and as you can see, we're getting a forward loop motion. I want to just change this to forward and backwards. So we're going once forward, then backwards, just looping back and forth, okay? As you'd imagine, sounds like this. Okay, nothing special. What we're then going to do is we're going to have a look around for an interesting rhythm. So we do this by shortening the length of the sample we're looking for, okay? And then just scrolling through and seeing what we can find. So if we chose this section, for example, we'd have this. Okay, kind of sounds a bit computery. I think we're probably choosing too big a sample, having it play back too fast. Let's shorten the sample a little bit. Okay, and already you should be able to hear that there's a rhythmical quality to that, which is quite cool, quite interesting. Let's try for something else. I want something a bit more pronounced. Yeah, that'll do for now. It's kind of cool. Okay, we'll see what we do with that. So as far as the first sample selection goes and the timing, that is that. There were two other pages then within Form, which we can have a look at. The main one that we're going to be looking at is this sound page. This is where most of the really cool modulation comes into play. There is also an effects page, which I won't really be touching on in this video, just because it's kind of straightforward what this does. You can see dynamics, delay, reverb, there's some frequency shaping, a bit of distortion there as well, saturation. So that's all kind of, you can use that, you don't have to. It's the sound page that we're really interested in here. I'm going to go through this then as if I was just doing a sound for my own purposes. I'm not saying this is strictly how you have to do things, but these are just things that I tend to focus on because I like the way they sound. So the first thing I would do with this sample, I want to try and get a dark, kind of low, dark, rhythmic tone, remember? So I'm going to pitch this down by an octave. Okay, we're going to go down 12 semitones. Sounds darker already. The main things then that I'm looking at here, we'd look at the format knob. I tend to find is really, really useful. There's an additive oscillator section down here, which, just so you understand what this is doing, it's adding an undertone based on the sample coming in. It's adding an undertone of relative low frequency content, basically. So you can go with a sine wave, you can go with more of a triangle or kind of a saturated sawtooth, a saturated sine wave, or all the way to a square wave, or nearly a square wave, if you like. Just so you know what that sounds like. That's with the volume turned up. Quite clearly you can hear that low undertone. You can change the pitch of that as well. So looking at the pitch here, the formant, okay, and this additive oscillator, this is the first section I would look at to try and get a good basis, a good kind of tone and relative amount of bass for the sound that I want. The next section to look at then is this oscillator effect. Okay, so we've got 5 knobs here. Like I said earlier, it's not a technical video. I could not tell you exactly what each of these knobs do. I've got a pretty good idea. I'm sure you guys have a pretty good idea yourselves, just from the labeling. But what they actually do, you'd have to look up in the manual, and I have not done that yet, so I don't know. Okay, all I know is that they sound really cool. Okay, I wish I could say something more clever than that, but I can't. I'm just kind of blown away with the way some of these things sound. So I'm going to switch over now to actually playing with this sound. I'm going to shut up and just tweak some of these knobs whilst playing the sound underneath. So you'll hear the development, and we'll just skip through to points that kind of sounded the most interesting. So you get an idea for what each knob is doing and how it affects and develops the sound. So, after playing one in form, we have our final sound here. And what I've done is I've just I've gone through the entire recording which we had made, and I've just cut out a loop that kind of sounded best to me. And this is what we're going to work with. So I've just copied it over. So I've looped it numerous times, put that on a loop. So we're just hearing the sound. I'll play it for you. Just want to point out, we're going to go through this post-processing, of course. I had applied these master effects at the end of everything, just to bring out, just to kind of, I guess, shift the frequencies a little bit, to bring out a lot more of the high end, whereas originally it was a much bassier sound. Little disclaimer as well, I did record this bit live. It's a shame I can't show it you as I was doing it, but unfortunately the audio on my screen recorder cut out without me realizing, and so I'm having to just quickly go back over this and explain what I did after the fact. So hopefully we'll get there, but yeah, technical issues, sorry for that. So this is the sound at the moment, just with the master effects on. You'll notice it's much brighter than it was before. There's also a kind of a digital clickiness to the high end. I actually quite like that for this sort of sound. Again, going for the horror genre. That's something that I kind of fell upon accidentally and thought, you know what, yeah, that sounds good. It's uncomfortable. It's not piercing. I don't think it detracts too much from the sound, but it's just kind of a nice level of discomfort to emphasize, I guess, where we're going with this. So first thing I'm going to do is take the stereo out off of our channel. So this first channel here is just the loop that we have playing. So taking the stereo out, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the sound off into different buses. I'll start then just with bus 5, okay, because this is carrying the bulk of the signal. So as you can see here, this is the bass out, I've labeled it. And so it's mostly just the original signal. And what we're going to do is add these 3 effects to it. So I've got a filter, first of all, just to take out a little bit of that high-end buzz. But it still keeps it there. It's still kind of unsettling. We've then got a sub bass applied, which obviously adds a little bit of sub bass to the sound. And then finally, probably the largest effect on this part of the chain is the direction mixer, which I'm using multiple times throughout here. It's a really good way of narrowing the sound. I thought that because it's kind of the low end, the low mid, maybe even bass, well, particularly now with the sub bass plugin, I want to narrow that to form kind of the center, the bulk of this sound. So I'll just flick this on and off and you'll hear the difference quite clearly. Okay, that brings it all kind of into the center field a bit more focused. Okay, so that is the first kind of routed bus off. Okay, and that just goes straight to the out after that. Then looking at bus 2, so I sent a separate copy of this to bus 2, which is this one right beside us here. Here we're just employing 3 plugins. All of the gain plugins I'm going to leave for now as well, because all they are for is for me to be able to automate volume later on if I end up using this and putting it to some sort of moving picture. The bulk of bus 2 then is a Valhalla Supermassive Reverb and a channel EQ. So I'll bring them both up so you can see them here. And if I just solo this bus, it's just creating kind of it's very far from the original. It's going to create like a kind of a backing reverb, like a space effect. Okay, and then that is just going to sit under the bulk sound and it'll be like this. So it's very subtle. The reason why I do this quite a lot is because although it doesn't add much to the sound, you'd be surprised when you take it away, that's when I find it's really effective. So you might want to take this away or drop it out a little bit during a scene change. I find that I'll do it now, when you mute this while the sound is playing, it becomes a much more intimate sound all of a sudden. So it's a nice little effect if you want to emphasize a scene change or something like that. So that's with, and then without. Just reverts back to the original quite nicely. It's much more in your head kind of sound when the reverb's taken away. So that's that. I'll leave that on for now, so we're getting everything cumulatively. The last bus then from the original is to bus 3, and with this bus what I was trying to do was create kind of an unsettling overtone. So to do that I've employed 2 plugins, let's just pull them up here, from, I think it's Melda Audio, is it? Have I got that right? Let me just check. Melda Production, sorry, yeah. So these are free plugins, really useful to have. We've got here a frequency shifter and a ring modulator as well. All I did with these was just mess around with the kind of the, I think this is this might be a preset on the ring modulator, but the frequency shifter was just a case of messing around with the shift knob and the feedback to get like a kind of a, well, to get the tone that I was looking for really. So that on its own just sounds like this. I'll just mute that as well. Okay. And then I'm employing a channel EQ just to cut off the low end, and again a direction mixer to center the sound as well. Okay. And when we add that to the original, we have this. So I'm thinking there again, that's something that could be faded in or taken away, maybe over time to emphasize again a scene change, or maybe like a building intensity, building horror, that kind of thing. Okay. The last then bus that I'm using here is a little bit different. So what I actually decided to do was to take this high-end version, this high-frequency version, if you like, frequency shifted version, and route that to 2 different buses. So the first one is dead simple. It's just going back to bus 2. So that's making sure that this new high-end frequency version is also being sent to the reverb bus. So it's also slightly contributing towards that Valhalla supermassive sound that we have going on in the background. And then finally we've got it going over to bus 4 as well. And what this is a really subtle, definitely an optional step really, kind of high-pitched ringing. So again, just trying to add more discomfort to this sound. If I just solo it, right, so that's it untouched. And what I'm using here is a Portal plugin. I think I used a preset, yeah, Glass Glitch is what I went for, and I just messed around, I think, with a few of the parameters, but mainly with the XY control just to achieve the tone that I wanted. Immediately it sounds like this. Okay. What I then added to that was a filter, it's a bandpass filter, just to focus more on the mid-range frequencies that I want to bring out. And then a channel EQ just to take away any unnecessary low end, because there was a little bit being created by the plugin here. And then again, a direction mixer to center it slightly. Okay. Together then, what they all sound like is this. So you can hear there that high-pitched squealing tone sounds really weird on its own, but when you put it in the mix, actually it adds, I think, just something extra, again, which can be brought in over time or taken away to emphasize a change in pace or something like that, depending on the project you're working with. And that's really it. It didn't take me very long to do any of this post-production. Often I find that it's, you kind of have a basic idea of what you want to do. I knew I wanted to route it off to a different bus for reverb. I knew I wanted a higher end section. This last squealing tone was a bit more experimental. I just kind of played around with a few different plugins and settled on using Portal to create this weird dissonant tone. But yeah, that's really all that's to it. I've then got a few plugins at the end just to show you, just to roll off on the low frequency. I used a balancer just to save time, just to bring out some of the high end for this video. The OTT kind of to do the same thing, but also to kind of squash everything and make it seem a bit more boxy, because again, I'm going for that concept of a sound of stress or panic, which would be inside a character's head or a player's head, if you like. And then finally, we've just got a compressor and a limiter. The limiter's not doing anything, it's just protecting against peaks. And the compressor is just a peak compression, 2-to-1 ratio, very mild. Nothing special at all really there. That's just to kind of make sure that I'm not going to get screwed by YouTube's audio processing algorithm when I upload this. But yeah, that is basically it, guys. I definitely recommend that you go and download Form. Hopefully you've seen it's a hell of a lot of fun. I've only really started using it myself, so I'll probably keep experimenting and keep bringing out things. Who knows, maybe I'll release a pack maybe at some point of some interesting loops when I get there. I'll put that on my website for free as always. You guys know me now, by now. I'm not in the business of charging for loops and things. But yeah, that's it. Definitely go and have a look at Form. Any questions, comments, likes, dislikes, whatever, leave them down below and I'll get back to you. And yeah, go have fun. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.